This is Lori Fetrick, aka Ice from the American Gladiators, and you are listening to Fascination Street.
AV in your ears, that's Ambush Van giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world with my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know, let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Makenzie Phipps. Makenzie is a singer-songwriter currently based in Nashville, but she is from Virginia, and we talk about that. Her music tends toward country and also spiritual hymns. In this episode, we talk about what got her into music at a very, very young age. We also talk about how important her grandmother was in developing her love of music and her passion for performing. And the song that Mama inspired, you're going to freak out. Makenzie actually plays for me live over Zoom, and it is beautiful. Makenzie has a few new songs that are coming out soon, so check everywhere where you get music, and make sure you check out all of her social medias and MakenzeePhipps.com for live dates and info about new songs and new releases. And this is my conversation with singer, songwriter, and live on Zoom performer, Makenzie Phipps.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Makenzie Phipps. How you doing today?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for being with me today.
It is 100% my pleasure. What I like to do, Makenzie, is I like to help the listener get to know the guest by starting from the beginning. So if you don't mind, where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I was born and raised in a small town in Virginia called Bluefield. And a lot of people only know Bluefield because of the West Virginia side, because we are right on the line. There's a Bluefield, Virginia and West Virginia, and I'm on the Virginia side. So I was born and raised there, and you know, I spent a lot of time just growing up back in the holler, as we call it. And I go to my relatives' houses. I go to church, which is where I started singing when I was 4 years old. And I was just living the small town life for a very long time.
Well, you don't look old enough to have done anything for a very long time. Let me ask you, I have always wondered, what exactly is a holler?
That's like so hard to explain because, you know, sometimes we say we're back in the holler and then sometimes we say we're in the boonies, which is basically just a term of you're back in the far neck of the woods. You're not really near many grocery stores, many restaurants, anything like that. You're just in a very small town where everything is just mainly people oriented and you just have a simple life, basically.
So you said Bluefield, Virginia?
Yes.
And it's right on the border, kind of like how Kansas City is in two states?
Yes. So, like I said, we're right on the line of Virginia and West Virginia. So I believe it was Bluefield, West Virginia first, which I could be very wrong because there's like so many stories that I've heard. But Bluefield, like I said, there's a town in Virginia, which is where I live. And then like 10 minutes down the road, it's Bluefield, West Virginia, which is what a lot of people know more of, which makes me believe that was probably first than the one in Virginia.
I'm going to go with no, and here's why. The reason people know more of the West Virginia one is because there's actual other cities in Virginia that people have heard of, and nobody knows any city in West Virginia ever. So what's the town do? This is going to sound super, I guess, I don't know, holler-ish, but it's not a coal town, is it? What is it? What do they do there?
Bluefield's not like on the lines of a coal town, but we're definitely surrounded by a bunch of coal towns, so we just kind of consider ourselves it. Like you have Pocahontas, which is a smaller city outside.
Hold on. That's a real place?
Yes.
Pocahontas, Virginia?
Yes, it is.
You're messing with me.
No, I'm not. Look it up.
Wait a minute. Do you think you're on like Disney radio right now? You can't just throw out Pocahontas.
No, I'm telling you. It is a smaller town outside of Bluefield that is like 15 minutes. It's where my one grandmother lives because I have 3 sets of grandparents and they all live what we would define as the holler. One of them lives in Pocahontas. You drive about 7 minutes down the road. Another set lives in Bosavane. 10 more minutes, my other grandmother is in Abbs Valley.
That's so weird because when I was growing up, my one grandmother lived in Bambi, and then my other grandmother lived in Snow White, and then wait a minute, you're just making, none of that stuff that you just said is true, but we're going to move on. You said that you started going to church and singing at church at would you say 4?
Yes.
Were you just out in the congregation just singing while the dude's trying to give sermons and stuff? He's like, hey, you over there, shut up. What are you doing?
So my mama, she would take me and my cousin and my brother to church every Sunday because we used to all kind of stay with her during the weekends. And every Sunday, whether you stayed up till 9 p.m. or you stayed up till 3 in the morning, your butt better be in church because that's just how my mama always was. She was a very faith-based woman, and she really taught me a lot about just religion in general. So we would always go to church, and before the service would start, I was, of course, in Sunday school, and they would teach you just children church songs and stuff like that, just very simple.
Like heads and shoulders, knees and toes, like that? And then I'm a little teapot, like that?
No, more like you would learn some of Amazing Grace. You would learn Nothing But the Blood of Jesus, all that stuff. So I would remember how they sounded in my head, and I'd go over to the piano and I would play it and sing along to it.
Hold on now. When did you take piano lessons?
I started taking classical piano lessons when I was 10. But as far as just hearing what the song's supposed to sound like, I would play individual notes when I was 4 just to sing along to it.
That's not weird. That sounds cool, though. That's awesome. Just to back up a little bit, you said mama,
Yep.
Which to everybody else means grandmother, right?
Grandmother, yes, my mama.
So you said you have 3 sets?
Yes. So my dad's parents are divorced. So they both moved on and they remarried. So I have my mom's parents, which are my mama and papa. Then I have my dad's dad and stepmom, which are my poppy and nana. And then I have my other mama down in Pocahontas and my papa.
No. So what do you call the ones in Pocahontas?
So it's actually really funny. My 2 mamas, who are my biological mamas.
You can't have 2 mamas.
That's what I used to call them. And you know what's ironic is both of them, as a child, we nicknamed them mamas, and both of them are named Kathy too.
Really?
Yes. So whenever we have family functions, I'd be like, Mama, and both of them would be like, what? And I was like, no, Kathy. And they go, what? So we actually had to differentiate them by Mama S and Mama H for their last names.
I've heard Mama, but usually whenever somebody has a grandmother named Mama, the other one is Meemaw.
Yeah, we never got into that. And then, for the longest time when I was younger, of course, my dad's dad and stepmom are Poppy and Nana.
I mean, of course.
So I always, for the longest time, thought they were like my uncle and aunt as a child. Because as a child, you just hear all of these names that you do come up with for your grandparents. And that's kind of more of a well-known name for uncles and aunts and all that. So for the longest time when I was younger, I thought they were like my uncle and aunt.
Love it. You know what I call my grandparents?
What?
Grandma and grandpa. What is wrong with you? But my wife's parents, when the first grandkid was born, there was a conversation, which I guess that's the thing, right? Hey, so what are they going to call you? What are they going to call you? And her mother was like, well, not going to call me grandma, not going to call me gran, not going to call me anything that sounds like an old name. So you can call me honey. So it's honey and pop.
Ah.
And pretty sure that half the people who call her honey don't know what her real name is.
Yeah. I have heard that. I've been at friends' houses where when they introduce themselves, they're like, oh, just call me Granny. Just call, they don't tell you your actual name. So I'll be going somewhere and they're like, who is that? And I'm like, I only know them by Granny. I have no clue what their name is.
And they're like, is that your granny? And you're like, no, that's why it's weird. So at 4, you start singing in the congregation while this dude's trying to preach. And then became part of what, like the children's choir or?
So we really didn't have a children's choir because the church I went to was in Bosavane. Like I said, I would just kind of go to the piano and I'd play songs. And then as I got a little older and was kind of not being as shy, my mama would have me learn different songs, whether they were hymns, whether they were by different gospel groups. Like she really enjoyed the Crab Family, and I would sing a lot of songs by them. I would sing just different hymns at service. They'd have me just come up and I'd play a track or something, and I'd just sing along for a song per service.
In front of the whole church?
Yes.
Oh, that's not scary. How old are you at this time?
I turned 21 back in February.
No, I don't mean right now. I mean, how old are you when you started singing in front of the whole church?
Oh, maybe like 6, 7.
All right, cool.
My mama was a very passionate woman. So she was like, you have to sing for the Lord. And I was like, okay. She's like, he gave you this amazing gift and you can sing. And I love these songs and these people will love you singing. So she would show me different songs and I'd go up there, and sometimes my cousin would come up and sing with me too. So we just kind of sang whenever we had the opportunity.
So you said you were probably somewhere around 10 when you started classical piano training?
Yeah.
Do you play guitar?
Yes.
Okay. Why piano?
I don't know. I just had a very big fascination with the piano. I do still have a fascination with it, even though I don't play it on a regular basis whatsoever. Like, I have a very strong passion for it and I love listening to it, but I know that I couldn't play it. I can play pretty much intermediate piano. I didn't want to continue classical and be like a professional pianist, but I do very much so have a desire to listen to piano. So when I was younger, I just loved the instrument. And I was like, I want to really sit down and be able to learn it instead of just playing things by ear. For the longest time as a child, I was so stubborn. And I said, I'm never going to play a stringed instrument. Everybody plays guitar and I'm going to be different. And I'm going to play my piano. And I go and do my shows when I was 14 and having to haul that thing around, having to haul a full-size keyboard everywhere you went. Just grew exhausting.
It's a good thing you didn't learn drums.
Yes. So I was like, I'm going to learn guitar.
Because it's lighter?
Yes, and easier to manage.
Rad. How old were you when you started playing guitar?
15.
Did you take lessons or did you just be like, I got a good ear. I know what's up.
I was taught chords and all that when I was learning guitar. I didn't really go the technical route as far as like learning different stuff. And for the longest time, I never really knew about, you have the E string and each fret is like E, F, F sharp, G. I never learned that for the longest time because when people would talk to me about it, it was just like, I didn't understand anything of what they were saying. I just knew here's a G chord, here's a D chord, so forth. And then when I got into college, I actually had to take a semester or two of technique with guitar.
You didn't have to. Come on now.
Oh, no, I did. My professor, he was pretty adamant about it.
What was your major?
I just went to college for general studies music because I actually was able to go to college for free because I graduated during the year of COVID. I graduated high school. So a anonymous donor down in my town had given a donation to all Tazewell County recipients that graduated that year to go to this college for free for 2 years.
That sounds it was Dolly Parton. How many people graduated? How many people was that?
Well, you also have to put in perspective, it's all of Tazewell County.
I don't even know what that means, but I swear, you're just making up words.
No, I ain't. You know how in districts, like your school district, you have different schools.
Sure.
Like whenever it'd be like, oh, Tazewell County is closed because of snow, Mercer County, yada, yada. So in Tazewell County, you had different high schools. Like you had Graham, you had Richlands, Tazewell, a whole bunch of high schools. So however many people graduated, if they wanted to go to that college, they could go for free.
That is that sounds like a lot of money.
It probably was. But I was very fortunate to be able to go. And, I really didn't know if college was my route. But my parents and I were talking about, because, they know that I have a huge passion for music, and we were all under the agreement of, I can go for free this 2 years. I'll have an associate's. And then after that, I can full-time stick to music. And then if that happens to not be where I want it to be, college is always still there.
Wow. So at what point did you decide you were going to go full music?
Well, I was even full music in college. So I've been basically a full-time musician since I was like 16, even in high school.
And what does that mean when you're 16 and you're a full-time musician? What does that mean? I mean, are you playing local coffee houses? Are you having backyard shows? What does that mean? Are you doing stuff on the internet?
My friends who used to have jobs around the community, like they'd work at Chick-fil-A, they'd work at Walmart, boutiques, cafes, anything like that, I was doing my music. That's how I was making a source of income for myself. So I started doing my own shows when I was 14. So if we want to get technical, I was a full-time artist, performer at 14 years old. So that's kind of what I did. But a lot of times, especially in school, a lot of my peers did not understand that that was a job. They just saw it as a hobby. So I did get some kind of hate for that. And
some pushback.
Yeah, because they were like, well, that's not really a job. But I never really walked around being like, oh, yeah, I do this. I play for 2 to 3 hours. I get paid this amount. I never did that because that would serve no purpose. I was just telling them I enjoyed doing what I love. And I'm lucky to be able to do a job that I do love, because there's a lot of people out there that have a job that they just are miserable with.
So if I was in high school or middle school or whatever, and somebody said to me, that's not a job, that's a hobby, I would immediately think they were my mother. Like, shut up. What are you talking about? That is so weird. So then, blah, 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 way fast forward. Not really. Something crazy happens. I guess you did your version or whatever. You covered Amazing Grace. And then what happened?
That was the first video I had go viral.
And what does viral mean? It means different things to different people.
Yeah, my definition of viral is getting a certain amount of traction on a video within a certain time span.
So like 11 views in like over 4 years? No.
If that's your definition, I feel sorry for you.
So you put that on what, YouTube?
At the time, I was with Country Rebel.
Is that a label?
No, so it's the world's largest country music platform. They hold like over 8 million followers on Facebook, and they have different socials and stuff. And at the time, back then, you could submit your videos to them, and if they liked it, they would share it on their page, give you credit, yada, yada, yada. It was kind of like a partnership sort of thing. So I had submitted videos for quite a bit of time with them, and I had submitted my first hymn, which was Amazing Grace. And, in the first couple of days or so, it was fine. And then it's just like 2 weeks later, it just decided to just skyrocket.
So it took 2 weeks for it to really catch fire, and then it just blew up?
Yeah, because like it had gotten a couple thousand views. And then like after 2 weeks, it just kept popping up on my page. And I was like, what's going on? And I was like 18 or 19, I think, when this occurred. And it had gotten to 1.1 million views within like 24 so hours after that 2 weeks had went by. So that was the first video I ever had go viral.
So for the first 2 weeks, it had like a couple of thousand, and then boom, 24 hours later, you're up to 1.1?
Yes. That's what happens to a lot of my videos as far as that are hymns that I have noticed.
Are these on your Facebook page? Are these still on Country Rebel?
Yes, so the videos will always be on Country Rebel, but the way that it worked with Country Rebel was both of your pages, so like my page and Country Rebels was kind of like merged for that video.
On Facebook?
Yeah, it was cross-platformed. It's hard to explain. All of the views, I believe, were under both videos that were combined. But as far as like the interactions and the comments and stuff, they were separate on each of the pages.
Got you.
Yeah, that was very interesting. And like I said, it is a lot of times hymns that do that, because I had posted a hymn last year of In the Garden, which is one of my favorite hymns ever. And, it had gotten quite a bit of views. It didn't go viral, but it was like months later, 4, 5, 6+ months later, people just pick it up and it starts circulating, and it's just very interesting to see how the algorithms work.
So then this one in the garden, so that took like 6 months before it blew up?
Well, it had gotten some traction.
Sure.
Like, it had gotten tens of thousands of views, but then like months passed, and then it just started circulating. I think it's up to like 700,000+ views now.
And so have you ever been able to find out what the catalyst for that is? Like, you're just like, sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't?
Yeah. Well, believe me, if I could figure out how all of this works, I'd probably be doing it a lot more.
Yeah, I guess that kind of was a dumb question, right?
It just happens by the grace of God, I guess.
Quite literally.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
And so not only did Amazing Grace go viral, it opened some doors for you, right?
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit. What happened as a result of this Amazing Grace catching fire? What happened?
Well, it definitely brought a lot more people to my page, because I know when I first started with Country Rebel, I'd had maybe like 18,000 people, if even that, on my page. And I know as soon as my videos started getting on Country Rebel, which I owe them a lot, especially for building my foundation, that it just introduced a lot more people to my platforms and what I did with music and so forth. So it definitely helped build up my social media pages at such a young age.
Are you signed with the record label right now?
No, not at the moment.
Sweet. Okay. So let's talk about your songwriting. When did you start writing your own songs? I know that you really love hymns and you're super into performing hymns. When did you start writing?
I wrote my first song when I was 15.
What was it called?
My One and Only. That's what it was called.
Did you think it was going to be your one and only song? Just kidding. And hit it. No, not that. No, I mean, sing. Go ahead. Sing My One and Only. And action.
I couldn't even tell you how it went. I haven't sang that in so long, but I will have people go on to my YouTube, because I know that it's on my YouTube, and people will go to it and they'll comment on my Facebook and be like, you need to re-release this song and all this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. That was probably one of my most cringeworthy songs, because it was the first song I ever wrote.
Sure. What sorts of things do you write about? Did you write drag?
No. So drag and a little of both, I did not write. Those were actually presented to me through my producer down in Nashville from Nashville Songwriters.
So you have a producer, but you're not signed to a record label?
No.
Well, that's pretty crazy. How'd you get a producer? How'd they find you down in Nashville?
This was actually before I even moved to Nashville. So my backup singer and guitarist and drummer and everything, his name is Shane Begley, and he's got so many people as friends on his Facebook. Like, he's got so many people he didn't even know who's on there. Like, we went into a store one time and we were trying to pitch this thing that we had going on in music. And he went up to this woman and was giving our information to her. And she was like, I literally know you. We're Facebook friends. And he had no clue who she was. Like, I was like, this is kind of embarrassing. You have all these people on your Facebook and you don't know half of them. But he had known of Sal, which is the producer's name, Sal Oliveri, and he had sent him a message about me, and they just kind of started communicating in that aspect about me, and I gotten some of my crew involved with them, and we got to sitting down and talking with him, and he said that he was interested in doing some production work with me. So that's kind of how I got involved with Sal, and he's just an amazing guy. He had texted me last week or so welcoming me to Nashville, because I moved here roughly 2 weeks ago.
Why did you move to Nashville?
Because I love Bluefield. I will always love Bluefield, but there's nothing in Bluefield for me.
Well, you said there was like a Chick-fil-A and a Walmart.
Well, yes, but there's nothing there that's going to help me get to where I need to be with my career.
You could have gone anywhere. Why'd you pick Nashville? You could have gone to Austin. Ugh.
I couldn't do that heat. I have family that live down in Corpus, and they tell me, they're like, it's 98 degrees here today, and they'll have a jacket on. And I'm like, I can't even deal with y'all.
So I'm in San Antonio, and that's about, I don't know, 110 miles or something from Corpus, something like that. All week in San Antonio, it's been 105, 106, 109. Ugh, ugh.
I'd hide in the house.
And it's been crazy humid too. It's so gross. I think you wrote a song for your mama.
Yes.
First of all, is your mama still with us?
Yes, she is.
If you're listening, mama, good job.
She's definitely not. Listen, she's in the boonies. They ain't got no Wi-Fi out there.
They ain't got no, you can email it to her. So
She ain't got a computer.
that is hilarious. You can record it on I don't know. Send a carrier pigeon.
Probably.
Your mama, she came down. I believe that she is, I don't know, afflicted. I don't even know what word to use.
She's diagnosed.
She's died. Thanks. That's a great word.
She's diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Did she get diagnosed in the holler? So what was she diagnosed with?
We believe that she has dementia.
Hold on. You just said diagnosed and now you're all, we
I
believe.
don't want to say, okay, here's the thing. I don't want to say diagnosed because a lot of times when people are dealing with Alzheimer's or dementia, a lot of times people actually don't even take them to the doctor to get a full diagnosis because it's kind of difficult to really test for that. But my parents are both in the medical field and have been for decades now. And this is, of course, my mom's mom. And there's just symptoms that we know is related to Alzheimer's. Like we've done work as far as she's had like brain scans and all that. There's never been like any kind of issues as far as like tumors or anything like that to present any other kind of suspicions. So over the last about 5 or so years, we've all been able to see that there is a difference in her because, I was around her my entire life. She is and always will be one of my biggest supporters. And she is the one that literally got me into my passion in life, which is music. And, this is a woman that used to call my mom weekly. We used to go over to her house and she would cook us dinner and everything like that. And the big key for me and my cousin learning that something was wrong, because my parents really hadn't said anything because they didn't know. Because, as you get older, it's not a surprise to people. As you do get older, your memory's not like how it used to be. So it could have been just aging and having some, little memory issues here and there. So at that time, we didn't really have anything to suspect. But the thing that really threw me and my cousin for a loop was we went over to her house and my mama used to, she was that stereotypical housewife, she would take care of the grandkids, she would interact with them, play with them, take them to church, cook for them, everything like that. She would make sure the house was clean, do everything like that for the husband. And we went over to her house one day. And my mama used to always make boxed cakes for my papa. She'd just get a Betty Crocker box cake, cook it. She'd icing it with some frosting she got at the store, and that was it. She did that as long as I can remember.
Like weekly or what?
Yeah, like she did, like weekly. She would make cakes. And I'm telling you, like there was always a cake every time I went to her house. And I was about 15 or 16 years old. And I went over to her house with my cousin, and we hadn't been over there for a bit. And she made a cake. And it fell in because she forgot eggs. So it fell in and she's still icing the whole thing, even though the cake is caved in itself. That was the first sign to me that something wasn't right, because this woman had baked these kind of cakes for basically my entire existence, had never messed up on it, anything like that. That was my first sign that something wasn't right. And over the years, as it went by, she did start having some issues. We had actually taken her to the doctor, and they did prescribe her with a medication that was supposed to help people who have dementia or Alzheimer's. And it actually did the complete opposite. That does happen a lot with people. Like, they try out these kind of prescriptions, and sometimes it does work for people and other times it doesn't. And it did not help her at all. And I remember, my parents, they wouldn't let me go over to the house because they were like, she is not my mom. She's not her anymore. I didn't believe it because I was like, I'm not going to believe y'all. She'll know who I am. And that medicine just really completely altered her brain. She was not a very nice person. She didn't like a lot of people. She just was very mean. And I was like, that's not her. And we actually didn't know that it was the medication that was causing the issues till she actually ran out of it. And of course, didn't tell anybody because she couldn't remember. It just started slowly coming back. So then when we found out that it was the medicine, at this point, I don't know if she's on any kind of medication that's still supposed to be helping or anything like that, but she's actually really good as a person can be with Alzheimer's, because she still knows immediate people. Like she knows me, my mom, my dad, so forth like that. But as far as like anything that's having to do with present day, short term is out the window. She's met Shane. She's met him a handful of times, but has no clue who he is. But the thing that's so funny about her is she will not let you know that she doesn't know them. Like she just goes along with it.
This, let's call it Alzheimer's, that hits you pretty close to home. It spurred you into a passion for Alzheimer's?
Well, I don't know if I would say that it was a passion for Alzheimer's. So as far as going into the song that I wrote, people that do have individuals in their lives that suffer from the illness know that they have good days and they have bad days. I had brought her over to my house to take her out for her birthday because she hadn't went out to a restaurant in a while. We didn't really know how she'd react. And, whenever she would come over to the house and we'd bring her over and just have kind of a girl's day with her, it got to a certain point of the day and she'd be like, I need to go home. Like, I need to go home. I need to cook dinner, everything like this, even though she really wasn't doing that. But it was just like an internal thing telling her she needed to go home. I had brought her over to the house and I was going to take her out for dinner. And my mom, she's the one that usually helps as far as like, to get her all cleaned up and everything like that. And she was having a really, really bad day. She didn't really want to cooperate. She didn't want to go take a shower and get her hair dried and get nice clothes on, anything like that. When I first started realizing, when my parents had told me that they believed she was suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's, I just remember I had went out and I sat on the couch and I just started to cry. It's just a terrible illness in a sense of, especially in my song, when I wrote it, I had written the first couple lines of the verse. And I always have told people basically what the very first verse of the song is. It's called Life's Game. And the very first verse says, you never know what it's like to lose a loved one. Instead of death, the good Lord keeps her here. So it's basically talking about, I have heard a lot of people that do have individuals in their lives that suffer from the illness. They wish, which it sounds completely morbid, and it is semi-selfish to think, but in a sense, it's kind of not unless you're in those shoes. You'd rather have the person not suffer from having that kind of memory issue, in the sense of, some get to the point they don't know anybody, they don't know anything, and they're just basically a living entity with no soul. And some people that I have had conversations with, they talk about they would rather have them pass peacefully with the Lord than to be here with them, because it's heartbreaking for them to be like, I have this person that I've loved my entire life who doesn't even know me and doesn't know themselves and doesn't know how they were as a person. I don't really think that way, thankfully, right now, because my mom still does process very well as a person. And my aunt actually took her to the beach a couple weeks ago, and that was her first vacation in years, and she enjoyed it and everything like that. So it really, when I wrote that song, I really had to just step into my inner self and how I would think other people going through what I'm going through would feel. So, in that verse, I talked about, you never know what it's like to lose a loved one. Instead of death, the good Lord keeps them here. You think all is fine and well, but the mind is already gone. There's nothing left but a memory that's been cleared.
Wow.
That song is one of the most sentimental songs that I've ever written. It is definitely by far the one song that I'm the most proud of writing. And after I got finished writing it, I really did not put into perspective how many people go through what I'm going through, and they can't turn to really any music to help them go through it, because there's a lot of songs that are not subjected around that.
Well, this is a big ask, and you can feel free to say no. But since that is the most sentimental song in your arsenal, can I play it?
Well, it's currently unreleased, but I do have my...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have my guitar over there and I could play it for you.
You want to do that? That'd be rad.
Yeah, hold on. You want me to play the whole song?
Hey, whatever you feel comfortable doing, I'm in. But will you introduce it first?
Yes. Let me tune it real quick. But yeah, this song, it actually did. I had submitted it to the Josie Music Awards last year. And since it is unreleased at the Josies, they have a category, which is for a Songwriter Achievement plaque for a song that is unreleased. So I submitted this, and I did get another nomination at the awards for Christmas Song of the Year. And I was lucky to even get nominated for that because that's a different story to tell, but that song exceeded my expectations. The one award I wanted the most last year was a Songwriter Achievement plaque for the song, and I did get one, so I was very excited about that.
Congratulations. That's super awesome.
Yes, but this one I'm hoping to release here in hopefully next year. I have a huge plan that I want to do with it. I just got to get everything sorted out with it, but this one is called Life's Game. Never know what it's like to lose a loved one. Instead of death, the good Lord keeps them here. You think all's fine and well, but mine's already done. There's nothing left but a memory that's been cleared. You take them out of the house for a nice evening. You do the things y'all used to love to do. You see the changes happen, and it's hard to see them leaving, but you carry on 'cause you know they want you to. How in the world does it start? The one you love is here, but not the same. The pain inside is tearing at your heart. I guess there's no winning life's game. I remember when I was just a young thing. I go to your house every day to see your laughing face and the happiness you bring. And now that's all starting to fade away. How in the world does it start? The one you love is here, but not the same. The pain inside is tearing at your heart. I guess there's no winning life's game. I wish someone had told me this would happen before all our time would be erased. All I can do now is remember you're not lost, but in my heart forever and always. How in the world did this start? The one I love is here, but not the same. The pain inside still tears in my heart. Oh, how I wish that nothing had changed. I guess there's just no ends to life's game. Ooh.
Man, that was gorgeous. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. That was dope.
Thank you.
Wow. And so you won a Songwriter Achievement Award for that?
Yes.
At who? Josie what?
The Josie Music Awards.
Is that in Nashville?
Yes. So it's the largest independent songwriter music group award show.
Dang. So were you in attendance? Was it a kind of a thing where they had a thing that you went to, or?
Yes. So they held it at the Grand Ole Opry House last year.
Get right on out of the city. The Grand Ole Opry, the actual one?
Yeah, which I was there like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, well, when next time you go, tell them I said hi.
Yes, but the only thing that was that sucked about it was, so they had JMA Fest, which is where they had like different artists come and they could perform and all that. And I didn't go to it, and it was the day before. So I went to the actual award show the day after, and we're all in line with all these other artists. And we're talking about what we were nominated for. And I was like, oh, we're nominated for Best Christmas Song of the Year, and I'm up for a Songwriter Achievement. The woman was like, well, they already announced that category yesterday. And I was like, what?
Which one? The achievement?
The Songwriter Achievement. So I was like, do you remember who got, who won? She's like, no, I don't. Because there was like hundreds of submissions and they only picked like a handful to win. So I was like, well, how are we supposed to know if we won? And they're like, well, they said they would send out emails. And I was like, well, I didn't get an email.
Well, then you didn't win.
They're like, I guess you didn't win. I was like, so they were like, maybe they'll announce it. But I guess, so last year, that was the first time they had it at the Opry House. So I don't know if they were under some sort of like time limit to be at the Opry House or not, but they ran out of time announcing categories. So they didn't announce it. And I was like, well, I have no clue if I won or not. And they hadn't updated their website with winners. So I went weeks and weeks without knowing.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
And they finally sent me an email. It was like, congratulations, you have won a JMA Songwriter Achievement Plaque for your song Life's Game. And I was like, oh my God.
It's sort of like the theme of your whole career, you know, like you release a song and then nothing, boom. And then you win an award and it's nothing, boom. Hey, you win. That's so crazy.
Yeah, so they mailed it to me like a couple of days after I got the email.
What is the actual award? What'd they mail you?
It's a plaque. So I have it's upstairs right now.
Sure,
and I ain't gonna walk all the way up there.
It's a plaque that says you're neat.
I will say I did forget. The song is on my Facebook page. It's just a video of me doing exactly what I just did, but it's on there.
Gotcha. Okay. You have live dates coming up. You have shows. Where can people go to find out where you're playing?
Yes. So I am available on all platforms. I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. You just look up Makenzie Phipps on Facebook and you'll find me, and then Makenzie Phipps Music on TikTok and Instagram. And then my website is MakenziePhipps.com. And that's where you can find everything about me as far as music, things going on in my personal life, my shows, and so forth.
What about Country Rebel?
Country Rebel does share my stuff every now and then, but they did a couple of years ago go into a different kind of business format with the videos. So I'm not currently like partnered with them anymore, but we are still really good friends. So you can still find my material on their page. They share it every now and then.
Gotcha. And you're on YouTube, right?
Yes. Just look up Makenzie Phipps.
Rad. Well, Makenzie Phipps, as we're heading out, is there anything I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about today? Did I miss anything?
People can be on the lookout for my new single releasing towards the end of next month.
And it is called...
You'll have to look on my socials to see what it's called. I can't give away any spoilers. I can just tell you that it is going to be releasing here at the end of next month.
Next month being July?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Y'all heard her. Look out for her new single, Fascination Street. Just kidding. Well, Makenzie Phipps, oh my goodness. This was a pleasure. It was quite unexpected that you would sit there and play for me. That's only happened 3 times. Yeah, the other 2 times I was in the room, and This went off better than I thought it would over Zoom. That was crazy. Wow. That was such a beautiful song.
Ever since I played it, there's like a little button that says set up professional audio and audio settings.
That's funny. That is hilarious. It's like, hey, lady.
It's like, here.
Makenzie Phipps, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic songwriting and award-winning schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And again, I can't thank you enough. That song was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, well, thank you. Like I said, I have potentially big plans for that song, just trying to get all of them into the mix on how I want it to go.
Rad. Well, whenever that does happen and it gets released, holler at a fat kid and I will help promote it as best I can.
Okay.
Alrighty. Thank you for also trying to explain what in the heck a holler is. I've been wondering that for nearly my entire life. So thank you.
I have to record. I'm actually recording a song here after I get off the call with you to put up on my socials on Sunday. And it has that word in the title.
Nice. All right. Can't wait. Everybody go check that out on all the socials. Makenzie Phipps music. It's everywhere. Find her. She's neat. Thank you, Makenzie. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
100% my pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend, subscribe, and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.